What is up, YouTube gang? It's your boy Friday Random Media, and I'm back with another video today. However, now that Season 2 of my Versus Battle series is over, I want to step back into one of my favorite series that I've missed doing so much, which is my What If series. Not only Marvel What Ifs, but I want to do more scenarios on DC and other comics, anime, manga, video games. In today's case, it's going to be horror. So in today's horror-themed What If episode, we'll be taking a look at the Evil Dead franchise with Ash Williams and diving into what if the Evil Dead had never been canceled. So our first what if scenario stems from the ending of Army of Darkness, basically Evil Dead 3. In the alternate ending that Raimi wanted, it would have landed Ash in a post-apocalyptic England after drinking too much of his sleeping potion. Although scrapped to never be seen in a sequel, in my what if scenario, this would involve Ash descending upon the destroyed futuristic England littered with the remains of futuristic vehicles and buildings. A sharp buzzing noise would halt Ash in his tracks before witnessing a tower exploding across the city. Ash, now knowing he's not safe, takes cover underground and comes across a group of not Deadites, but human survivors. The survivor group explains what happened to cause the disaster, and much to Ash's guess, the Necronomicon is once again at play. Not only is there Deadites, but mechanized Deadites. Deadbots? I don't know what to call them. Not only that, but the Book of the Dead is no longer just a book, but a file or a software of some sort that infected all tech on the planet. I imagine Ash accepting his destiny as the chosen one, embracing his want to exterminate the Deadite threat rather than just wanting to cut corners and go back home. Along his way, Ash would get a hold of some new gear and gadgets as well. One being a new hand prosthetic. It would be able to morph into several, futuristic different tools, blades, hands, and of course, a futuristic chainsaw, baby. Ash could never part ways with his boomstick, however, but he would manage to acquire a new sidekick and friend in a small robotic hologram system similar to like Cortana or maybe even Jarvis. In the end of this what if scenario, I definitely see Ash Williams continuing to embrace his newly gained heroic character, deciding to stay in the future and rebuild the future that the Necronomicon destroyed. That wraps up our first what if, titled The Future Dead. But now, let's get into our second what if scenario titled Ash Goes to Hell. So, Ash Goes to Hell would pick up after the end of the original Evil Dead, the first film. Ash believes to have defeated the Deadites and leaves the cabin. However, the apparitional evil cloud thing possesses Ash. Now, in this what if scenario, Ash awakes and finds himself in a black void, so he travels this void until coming across a room of fire. Inside this room would be the Dark Ones, the powerful beings who created the Necronomicon itself. The Dark Ones cast Ash into the hot depths of hell, where Ash is forced to come face to face with not Deadites, but demons and other horrific evil creatures. Only being armed with his tasty and trusty boomstick, Ash blasts through each and every layer of hell, where he also must confront the demons of his past trauma and survivor's guilt. I imagine this what-if scenario being an action-packed bloodbath, yet also diving into the traumatized psyche of Ash Williams. Ultimately, Ash Goes to Hell would show us all what Ash is both physically and mentally made out of. That'll wrap it up for scenario 2. Now, diving into scenario 3 for this what-if video, which is also a rumored and real project. It was adapted into comics, but was supposed to be a film, of course. I'm talking about the famous Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash storyline. The basic rundown of this comic run is this. So, set after the events of Army of Darkness and Freddy vs. Jason, Ash is sent to a new S-Mart location. And where else would it be but not at Crystal Lake? Camp Crystal Lake, baby. So after returning, he finds the remains of a classic Jason Voorhees murder scene, which Ash actually attributes to the deaths to the Deadites. Ash later comes across the old Voorhees house with the Necronomicon inside of it. However, Jason appears, slays the other intruders, in which Ash actually followed to the house. Not creepy at all. Jason eventually gets the book, which brings Freddy Krueger back to physical form. Freddy Krueger uses the Necronomicon to amplify his power, which he gained reality warping abilities. So, yeah, shit was pretty fucked at this point. At this point, Jason turns on Freddy, as he's gained newfound intelligence via the Necronomicon. So, now the three horror icons come to a final face-off. Ash and his group defeat the famous slashers, banishing Freddy Krueger to the Deadite realm, while Jason Voorhees and the Necronomicon are lost, frozen under Camp Crystal Lake's lake. If this story was eventually adapted to the big screen, I imagine that it would easily be like a 3-hour long movie. It would go even deeper into the origins of the Necronomicon. It would go even deeper into the power and the magic of the Necronomicon. Jason Voorhees, in my opinion, would need a massive buff to his physical strength because he's a mute character. He's not going to be talking a lot. All of his talking is going to be done through his actions, while Ash and Freddy would trade some really classic, probably cornball one-liners. And I'd love that. So the most important thing, in my opinion, would be the depth in the Necronomicon rather than too much character work. That is going to do it for Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. However, moving on to our fourth and final what-if scenario, Ash versus The Walking Dead. Now hear me out because it does sound ridiculous, but hear me out. In Season 9, Episode 5 of The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes stumbles across a cabin in some woods, and I shit you not, fam. Laying on the ground, in a pile of dust, is the Necronomicon. If you find the frame in the show and you zoom in, it's pretty clear. You can make out the face of the Necronomicon. The Book of the Dead is there. Now, nothing is done with this Easter egg as it's only that. It's just an Easter egg. Although in this what-if scenario I'm going to be playing out, things are going to go a different path. Rick Grimes would open the book and he'd be overcome by the dread of the Necronomicon. Rick is startled as Ash Williams, who's been using the cabin as a hideout, pops out of nowhere. Ash explains he was thrown into this world by the Necronomicon's portal, and some Deadites actually managed to make it through the portal as well. However, the Deadites were now different in this universe, acting as what we know now are the Walking Dead's walkers. In this universe, the Dark Ones would have no real power, no real connection, so the Necronomicon would fail anyone who tries to use it. In this scenario, it would be a reverse play of Ash's usual adventures. Rather than getting rid of the Necronomicon, rather than getting rid of the Book of the Dead, Ash is actually going to try to revive it and ultimately try to use its power. Rick, although not fully convinced, would agree to help Ash out on his quest in hopes that they could eliminate the Walker and the Deadite threat. Now, either a film or a short miniseries would probably work great for this type of story. Maybe it would be a little lighter on the humor, matching The Walking Dead's more, menacing tone, but more so leaning into the violence, the action, and the actual story. Now that is going to be it for our what-if scenarios. However, I'm going to drop some honorable mentions for y'all. I would love to maybe, cover in the future, or if you guys have any ideas yourself, comment down below. Let's get into these honorable mentions. Number 1, Ash vs. Chucky. The humor and the over-the-top raunchy comedy would serve these characters so well, especially in a violent race for the Necronomicon. Number 2, Marvel Zombies, which of course actually begins with our boy Ash Williams, featuring in the Marvel Comics universe alongside characters like Punisher, Spider-Man, Daredevil, and more. If this ever did happen on screen, I'd love to see the chemistry between Punisher and Ash. I would just love to see a comic run between the two, honestly. Number 3, Evil Dead Beyond. And this is a story idea I somewhat base off the Evil Dead universe theory, which is, the Evil Dead universe is actually split between the few different timelines after the first movie, the second movie, Army of Darkness, and Ash vs. Evil Dead, the show. The theory is basically all these timelines would converge in some catastrophic way, and all these Ashes would have to work together to, eliminate the Necronomicon threat and save their timelines. Alright, that is going to be it. We're going to wrap this what if video up. Comment down below what you guys want to see. I obviously want to do more of these what if style videos with different scenarios. Like I said, could be video games, could be movies, all sorts of franchises. We got Star Wars, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Lord of the Rings, horror characters, anything. Comment down below what you guys want to see. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel as well. I always appreciate the support. Find me on TikTok by the same name, Friday Random Media. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day.